those things, and I recorded them at the library. And a year later, a grassroots legislator got up in Congress and said, they got a fella up there that's chasing around the country with his long hair, singing radical songs. His name is Woody Guthrie. And Congress cut the whole appropriation bill for the Library of Congress out of the budget. The Library of Congress didn't exist anymore after that happened. And they went back and they fixed it the way people fix things, but the archive was a dead duck after that. And I left the archive and went into radio. Now, this is what happens with this kind of hysteria. Not very long before, they attacked the WPA Arts Project, which in a way was an even grander scheme than this wonderful NEA-NEH combination. And the WPA Arts Project gave us the great Orson Welles Theater, the baseline of our whole theater. They gave us the baseline for our modern painting school, which has transformed America's image in the world. And, well, they found out that somebody was drawing from the nude in St. Louis. And they found out a couple of other silly pornographic stories which they love to tell about the arts, and the whole arts project came to an end. You know, along with it, an enormous renaissance in the American spirit.
You know, the State Cultural Attaché of the Department of State had sponsored an art exhibit in the 80th Congress that was touring Europe of WPA art. And somebody on the House floor said that that's the most communistic art that we ever had. And you know what happened? The House voted to shut down, the Congress voted to shut down that art exhibit. That art was shipped back to Chicago and sold for a song. Among the artists who had works in that were Jackson Pollock, Rothko, Mark Rothko, Yasuo Kuniyoshi, and David Smith, just to mention a few of those.
I think this really doesn't have so much to do, Chairman, with freedom of speech. I think this has to do with the other point that the young lady here made, freedom to dream, to fantasize, which is the job of the artist. And when you begin to reduce that, I think you reduce humanity to the very beast. And this is what always happens with this supervision of the arts. Now, I'm here to talk about folk arts and to talk about what will happen to this country when, if the NEA should be further restricted or if it should be changed or abolished, this enormous program which we've built up now to take care of our folk arts, the very roots of our popular expression, the place that almost everything that America is loved for comes from, jazz, bluegrass, blues, that's what resonates in the whole world for America. The roots of this whole thing are being cultivated now by the NEA. In an amazing program. Mr. Cephas is just one of 10,000 artists in this country who've been taken care of down at the grassroots in all of the minority communities. Let's see, 170 ethnic groups and 47 Native American groups have been given bits of money so that they feel that the country is concerned about them way off there somewhere far from Washington and New York and all of that. These people have got some recognition. They've got some what I call TLC, tender loving care. Artists need tender loving care. And the NEA has supplied this for the whole panorama of America that's usually left out of the mainstream. For Afro-Americans, Latin Americans, Indian Americans, Native Americans, Greek Americans, this whole range of Americans who do not fit into the mainstream of the fine arts or the popular arts. People who because they don't have any normal access to being to the educational system or to the communication system, gradually dry up. They lose their sense of a person and of being. And the thing that they need is contact, recognition, and that's what the NEA Folk Arts program has been providing. They've established apprenticeships for all kinds of activities, for saddle makers, for banjo pickers, for dulcimer makers, for all the traditional arts in the country, where the artist earns his living by teaching the art to some young person. They've got the Heritage Awards, where 15 or 20 of the greatest of all these inspired people who've given us our native homegrown arts come to Washington and get recognition and a prize. And when that message goes back to the local community, an enormous effect happens. I brought a couple of Cajun musicians to the Newport Folk Festival one year. Cajun culture was in disarray at that point. When the message got back to Cajun country that those people had been applauded and given good reviews in Newport in front of that sophisticated audience, a Cajun Renaissance began, and 2 years later, the French language was made a part of the education of every part of Louisiana where French was still spoken. This is the kind of thing that can happen, and at the NEA Folk Arts Division, and I'm sure the Expansion Arts Division is bringing about. Now, it seems to me that to cut off the NEA, when for the first time we have people, sensitive people, well-trained people who are actually looking after the arts and the communities in which those arts are alive. Those people are now located throughout the country, a network of sensitive, hardworking, low-paid idealists who are cultivating the very heartstrings of America. That's the program that's actually in place. Now, we live in an age when great institutions are abolished and kicked around just because of financial reasons, but that this structure should be destroyed after so many years, this whole wonderful grant structure that exists here, the democratic system, and then all the committees that go out over the country and really make for a full hearing for all the talented people in America. And for the first time, the minorities get into the act. They're not excluded anymore. It's not just the fine arts anymore. It's not just the guy who can make it like Elvis Presley. It's all the people like John Cephas who stick to his guns, who sing the thing of his people, who speak the language of the people, who really represent to them their heritage so that everybody has their roots. I wonder where Mr. I wish your friend Rugula was, what's his name?
Regular.
I think he's probably from southern Italy, from Lucania or Calabria. But we have taken care of artists from his part of the country.
He's from Ohio.
What?
Canton, Ohio.
What?
Canton, Ohio.
He's from Long Island, but his folks are Italian.
Oh, okay.
His folks are Italian, and he probably feels a little uneasy because Italian culture isn't right in the mainstream.
I'm going to have to cut you off, Alan. Alan, reach your peroration.
Okay. One more thing. This freedom to fantasize, which the NEA sticks up for, this freedom to fantasize. It used to be that freedom of enterprise was what made this country, right? Democratic capitalism. But right now, we're dependent on the success of our fantasy life. The people who do the new things in computer science, who do the software, are fantasizers. Some of them happen to be working for me. I know what they like. They like modern art, and they're creatures who spend their whole time fantasizing in front of a computer. Now, we need to cultivate, if we're going to be a successful nation, a nation of the future, we need to cultivate the arts because we need to expand our ability to successfully fantasize, to see that's what sees the future, whether it's in science or in morality or progress. It's the dreamer, as the young lady said. It's the dreamer who wins, and we must fight for our dreamers. That's what NEA fights for. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you.